Hello, I'm Dan Scott, and I am a spiritual director and a therapist at Branches in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And I want to talk to you a little bit about aging. As we get older, we begin to see someone in the mirror that uh, sometimes doesn't seem like ourselves. We just think somebody has replaced our real self with some old person we're looking at in the mirror. Most of us will have that experience. It's amazing. We know that we're getting older, and yet as we begin to age, especially after retirement and all, the changes of life can take us by surprise. I believe that talking to a therapist about those changes can be very helpful, even a younger therapist, because we get significant insights from others. It's kind of a different sort of mirror that we can use to assess where we are. If I could talk everyone in their early 50s into going through a time of reflecting on what they believe aging would look like as they go forward in life, I would do so. But I'm just going to talk about some of the areas that we do need to look at as we're thinking about adjusting to a new season of life. First, of course, is retirement issues. If you have not retired yet, you need to think about what that will look like. You actually need to think about it much younger than almost anyone does. But especially in those last 10 years of your working life, you want to take an assessment on what kind of income will be available to you. A psychotherapist is very rarely a financial expert, and so they will not give you specialized information on this. But some general idea of how to plan for it is awfully important. You will want to take an assessment of your assets, real estate that you may own. How are you going to pay rent or mortgages, or are you going to downsize? And how does that? What does that downsizing look like? Hopefully, you'll do that before you retire, rather than waiting to retire and then do it. But you need a plan at any rate. You'll need to ask yourself whether you envision any kind of part-time work after retirement for income or just your personal fulfillment. Another thing related is just your vocational life. Perhaps you've been working at an occupation that's made you a living but hasn't been all that fulfilling. Or it could be it's been very fulfilling and you're grieving leaving it behind. The important thing to know is there's all kinds of opportunities in life to work part-time for pay or as a volunteer that will be related to the experience you already have in life. Or maybe you want to try something completely new, and this is the time of life you may be able to do that. So you need to think that through. You need to think about your intellectual life. It's surprising how many people stop reading and thinking critically at some point in their life, and they begin to age in a way that's utterly unnecessary. It is possible for most people to maintain very sharp faculties throughout life. And unless you have some sort of brain disease, then you ought to be looking at ways of maintaining your intellectual curiosity and deepening that. This is a time in life you may want to do something new, like learn a new language, or to play an instrument, or to write a novel. These are things that you can do, and we now know that the brain retains its ability to adapt to new circumstances throughout life. It's unlike many of us were taught when we were younger that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Turns out you really can. It depends on you and your motivation and your persistent desire to be able to learn new things. Another thing is to look at your physical life. Here's the bad news. When you were in your 30s and even early 40s, you could overeat a little bit. You could stay stationary more than you should. You could decide, you didn't want to do any weights or anything like that. And you pretty well had a life that was similar to your friends that did all those things. As you age, that's no longer the case. If you want to be physically fit, if you want to be able to have stamina, you want to be able to lift things, you want to be able to maintain flexibility and ease of movement, you're going to have to work at it. Those people who don't work at it, they begin to age in the stereotypical ways that we think. For example, unless you've had some sort of injury, there is no reason to think that you will need to use a walker or anything like that, even when you get very old, if you will work on maintaining your muscular strength and to do the exercises that will ensure your ability to keep good, solid platform of physical health. Other things related to our physical changes in life are that our sexual life changes, and perhaps the sexual life of our partner can change in ways that can be distressing, can cause trauma, can cause a sense of loss. Most people can maintain sexual life throughout their life, but you may want to think about what that's going to look like, the kinds of changes and so forth that may come, how to adapt to those changes. Socially, what kind of social interaction are you going to have as you retire especially? Many of us work in occupations that give us a whole frame of social reference every day with coworkers, and the truth of the matter is, likely when you retire and you move from that job, those relationships go away. What kinds of circles of friends are you going to develop outside family that will fulfill your need for social interaction? Many older people get into trouble simply because they get lonely and isolated. A therapist can help you work through these issues and develop a plan that's good for you. Even though they're unlikely to be experts in any of these areas, they will still have the required training and experience and compassion to help you imagine how to adapt to this new challenging but rewarding season of life that either you're about to enter into or you have entered into. I'm an older person now, and I can tell you life is joyful and fulfilling, but I've had to make some adjustments. I've had to grieve some things that have lost, that are lost. I've had to think through on new areas of engagement and discovery that will make life meaningful now. And I believe that you will find a therapist can be a really good help to have a few sessions with you on how to develop a life plan that's right for you.